Good afternoon, very good afternoon to you all. Welcome to Fourth Rev Land. We're really excited about the content that we're going to be sharing with you. And of course, we'll be talking about how to transition to a career in data analytics with the keyword confidence. And that's something we're going to get into a little bit later in terms of discussing what confidence looks like and how you can increase your confidence with the panel. My name is Mayo Febi, and I'm a career coach at Fourth Rev, and just want to briefly go through the agenda with you in terms of what to expect for today. So we're going to talk about why data analytics, like why does it make sense to transition to data? We're also going to give you an overview of the Career Accelerator and also share an incredible success story with Emma so that it actually proves to you that we're not just making stuff up, right? But it really is a powerful way of getting into data analytics. And then we're also going to talk about the process of making a career switch. And we'll get into a bit of detail around the coaching journey and what that looks like here at Fourth Rev. And finally, then we'll close off with a live Q&A. And before we get into that, we'll do a support session where we'll tell you what are the next steps. What is it that you need to do to get your career going in Fourth Rev? So if you have any questions at any point, please type them in the Q&A section, rather. So if you look at the bottom of your screen there, you'll see that there's various tabs and one of them says Q&A. So please avoid putting your question in the chat because it's just going to keep scrolling and scrolling. It's going to get lost because there's going to be other information that's shared with you within the chat. So please just make a note to put it in the Q&A section of the screen here, and then we'll come back to it at the end. All right. So I would love to hear where you are joining in from. It's always nice to see where people sign in from. I'm in South Africa, by the way. I always say South Africa is the best country in the world. Best weather, best food, best people. So I'd love to hear where you're from. Where are you? You could just please type in the chat which city are you located in. Most people are usually in London, but would love to hear where are you based. Paris, bonjour, comment ça va? Welcome, welcome. So good to have somebody from Paris. London, how's it going, fellas? Excuse my bad British accent. Wonderful, wonderful. Let's keep that going. I'd love now to introduce our panel. We have the amazing, the incredible Joshua Ross and the wonderful Emma Roberts. So as our special guest of honor, Emma, if you could please turn on your camera and briefly introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, Mayo. Thanks for having me here today. I'm Emma. I graduated from the LSE Data Analytics Career Accelerator about a year ago now. Prior to that, I was working as a chemical engineer in the oil and gas industry for over 15 years. I had loads of different roles during that time as an individual contributor and a manager. And although the roles used data, it was very much limited to Excel spreadsheets. So fast forward a bit, following the Career Accelerator, I started freelancing in data, and now I have just set up my own company working in data.
Wonderful. Thanks, Emma. Josh.
Hi, Maya. Thanks for having me, and love the accent, so very much on point. I'm the manager here. I'll wait to hear your Australian accent, by the way, but I'm the enrollments manager here at Fourth Rev for the LSE programs. I've been with Fourth Rev since 2021, so even before we'd actually launched the Data Analytics Career Accelerator, we're in product testing at that stage. So looking forward to answering any of your enrollment-specific questions today.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. I'm working on my Australian accent in the background. Obviously, hopefully it'll come up later, but right now I don't have them. All right, so a critical question: why data analytics is the career of the future? Like, why data? Well, when we look at the data, excuse the pun, it actually shows us that there are more and more job postings when it comes to roles that are in data analytics. And in 2024, if we look at the screen, some staggering data came through that there's 202.74 million terabytes of data being created each and every day. That is massive. And if you look at how the demand for data roles is actually much, much more stable when you look at the rest of the overall tech jobs that are being advertised. So it really does make a strong business case that these jobs are in demand. Data generation is skyrocketing and people want in on that. And the wonderful thing about data is that it doesn't lock you into a specific industry, right? So it's a fast growing field and you can apply your skills in so many types of spaces like finance, healthcare, marketing, etc. So it really is a progressive space to get into, and it gives you that added benefit of job security if you think about it as well. In terms of the next slide, I'm going to hand over now to Josh to just share with us on it.
Thanks, Maya. Yeah, so if anyone in attendance today is unaware with the Data Analytics Career Accelerator, I thought I'd give a bit of an overview regarding that and some of the unique points in the chat. If you haven't downloaded a brochure, there'll be one for you to click there, or potentially even later on book time with an EA after this if that's your preference. But the Data Analytics Career Accelerator, what we call this is it's a careers first program. So what does that mean? That means that we are looking and solely focused on helping you achieve your intended career outcome as a part of actually studying and completing the program. And there's a range of ways that we do that. We kind of feel that we support you holistically. And the first unique component of that is the design of the content. I think historically, your choices when you're looking at study options would either include kind of traditional university degrees or bachelor's degree or a master's, or on the flip side, you could be looking at something that's maybe shorter in length, more industry aligned, and there hasn't been necessarily something that takes the best of both worlds, and that's what this program does. So the LSE have led the design of the content. So you will see the academic rigor, the critical thinking, the problem-solving skills that's synonymous with a top 30 university in the world, and you combine that with the industry insight and expertise for this program of Tableau and GitHub, who've collaborated in the design of the content. And what that results in is a few things. No exams. It's all practical project-based learning. And as you can see on the screen, there are 4 projects you complete. Courses 1, 2, and 3 are individual projects. So that's, you'll work through 6 weeks worth of content and then apply your learning to a project. So that's how you learn the skills and then actually demonstrate what you've learned through practical projects. Upon completion of those 3 individual courses, you'll have everything you need to complete a live business or employer project. So we have a pool of project partners that we work with, and they're forever changing. For example, this year we've done projects with the Bank of England, ThoughtWorks, Zumo, who's a global e-bike company. There's a whole range. And essentially you'll take a real project or a real business challenge, and collaboratively in small teams, you'll go about solving that challenge and presenting to the employer at the end. So giving you great confidence in everything that you've then learned, applying it to a real scenario, and importantly then all of these projects make up a digital portfolio of evidence, which I'll talk to in more detail later on in the presentation. Alongside the digital portfolio of evidence, there's a few other ways that we support you. There's one-to-one executive style career coaching. Mayo is a great example of the level of support that you'll receive as one of our career coaches, and she'll talk in far greater detail throughout this about how we do support. But alongside the career coaching, there is a dedicated success manager. So that's program support. Any challenges that you have, you go to them as a starting point, and they can direct you to who can best support. And then your course facilitators are your academic support. Again, LSE faculty and academics have led and designed the content, so their learning is embedded throughout the content. But who you're actually getting your weekly academic support off are individuals with both academic and industry experience. So you're getting that true blend of, again, academia and industry and the level of support that you are provided with. And most importantly, well, not most importantly, but one of the really important factors of studying with the LSE is the certificate of completion that you will receive from them. I always like to view this from an industry perspective. What does this mean for employment opportunities or progression in your career? QS University rankings are one of the largest in the world. For 2025, LSE's global employer reputation ranking is 97 out of 100. It's one of the highest in the world. So essentially, how do employers and industry view people that have studied at the LSE in really high regard? So it gives you great confidence in what you are learning is relevant. To highlight as well, what we've recently launched in the first few months of this year, and it's been 4 years in the making, is a pathway to a formal postgraduate certificate with the LSE. So if you do complete the Career Accelerator over the 6 months and get at least an average grade of 65%, then there are pathways and opportunities to complete a formal postgraduate certificate with the LSE. That looks like one further academic capstone. And so for individuals that would think they need that further study or you want to return after you've completed at any stage, you've got that pathway, which is really, really exciting. That'll do me for the overview. Maya, back to you.
Love that, Josh. Thanks so much. And it's so true what you say about the brand value around London School of Economics. So whenever I go to networking events and, you're chatting, what do you do? Where do you coach? And then I say, oh, I coach learners at the London School of Economics. It's always like, oh, it's like a moment, compared to other institutions. So it's not just for you as the learner, but it's also for us, the people that get to work with you. It really is a powerful global brand. So don't just think of price and content of the program as well, but there's also that added benefit of the brand value of London School of Economics. We're going to move on now to talk about common myths that people have about switching their careers, well, specifically to data analytics, right? But also just in general, I think these myths really speak to anyone that wants to make a career switch. So you'll see some of them there, the most common ones, I need to have a technical background. It's too late to start over. I'm over 30, I'm over 40, I'm over 50. There's all sorts of things that can often get in the way of us making a career switch. And a lot of it, if you think about it, it's based on the fears that we have. It's based on experiences that we've had that might not have gone that great. And then we attach that to everything in life. And we think, oh my God, I better not risk it. I better stay in my lane and do what I've always done before. And it always feels like the safer option, right? But the thing is in life, for you to get ahead, for you to grow and become more of who you want to be, you have to be willing to do things you've never done before. And when you look at the objection around somebody being too old or inexperienced, we have so many success stories, like Emma's, who's going to share a bit more around it. We have so many success stories that have made that switch, that have pivoted. And it really is about leaning into the power of coaching and understanding your transferable skills. Because everything that you've experienced in life, if you think about it, it always leads you to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So I'll use myself as an example. So I started out my career in public relations and communications. So when I made the switch to coaching, the transferable skills that I carried were being able to build a brand, build brands for global organizations, for high-flying CEOs. And now I use that experience to help learners build their brands on the program. So can you see what I mean about having that transferable experience and skills that always improve our opportunities when we look at whatever career switch that it is that we want to make? So I'd like to start up a conversation now with Emma. And if you look at her profile here, you can get a sense of the things that she was passionate about and the things that drew her to want to do something in data because she really desired change and wanting to do something different. So even with yourself, it's okay to validate why you want to make the change. We all have different reasons, right? Perhaps you're looking at the presentation and you're thinking, wow, I really want to get in on data because it is the future. It is something that's stable. And I want to be at the cutting edge of technology when it comes to understanding the different tools that we make. So even if your reason is different to Emma, it's also valid. That's what I want to emphasize. Whatever it is that's driving you to want to make that switch, just understand that we'll be able to unpack that as well in the one-on-one coaching, which I'll get into. So don't think that, oh, my reason is not valid enough. So therefore, I'm not going to make the switch. Each and every reason that we all have is valid. So an overview of the change that we go through, it usually begins with us lacking confidence and technical skills. Right? We have fears about leaving a stable job. Like maybe you're in a nice cushy role like I was, traveling the world. I had beautiful opportunities, speaking engagements with so many platforms. And I was thinking, I'm going to make the switch. And now what's the point of doing that? I'm going to leave the stability of a good income. But if you look at the testimonial here from Elodie, she thought that she wasn't able to do that. But then when she acquired the skills very, very quickly, she realized that, okay, I can actually do this. And she managed to make the switch. So Emma, just to bring you in the conversation, when you look at your experience and where you've come from, so you've had a technical background from engineering, but were there any challenges or doubts or fears that you encountered when you were deciding to make the shift into data?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, like, I think what Elodie said there really resonates with me, that, I definitely had some science and maths background, but I had never coded. And I think some of the things you were talking about on those doubts and pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, like, was it too late in my career? I was established for 15 years working in oil and gas. I was at quite a senior level. It was a very successful career on paper, but I just, something was missing as I kind of came out of COVID-19. So yeah, definitely. And those doubts, they continue through the course, right? They continue after the course as well. When you're still, now I'm working in data, do I still worry? Of course I do. But I love what I'm doing and I loved learning on the course, and you kind of have these real ups and downs of like, oh wow, I'm coding something in Python and I've solved this problem with it. And then you kind of move on and look back how far you've come, and it kind of disappears. So I guess maybe if I talk a bit how I decided to transition, that might be useful as well. So I think Josh kind of touched on a little bit that there's a few different ways of doing it. You can go for a full-blown degree. There are loads of free resources and courses out there to self-study. But I really knew that I wanted a program with some structure, just knowing myself that was going to have that kind of strong career support, because I was so aware that I was stepping away from a successful career and I wanted to give myself the best foundation to kind of launch into the data space.
Hi, can we still hear Emma? I can't hear you. I don't know if
Oh, I
anyone else
stopped
can.
talking. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. It stopped abruptly.
Oh,
I think it
sorry.
stopped. No, that's fine. I think there was also a lag in my network as well. No, thanks for that. And what really stands out about what you just shared, still going ahead, even though you have doubts and you have fear. And to me, that really is a universal lesson, because if you think about it, and this is for all of us, right? If you think about it, whenever you're about to do something you've never done before, it's natural and it's normal to feel scared and terrified about what lies ahead. So if you're sitting there listening to this and you're absolutely petrified about jumping into the unknown, there is nothing wrong with you. It's normal to feel that way. And it's certainly not a sign that you should not do this. So fear is simply a sign that you're doing something you've never done before, And it's now time to dig in deep, and eventually you'll emerge to the other side and you'll realize all of the things that you've learned along the journey. So don't take fear as a sign to stop, but it's simply an opportunity for you to persevere beyond it. So thanks for sharing that, Emma. So the key steps to transitioning successfully, what does it look like? Like, let's get practical about this, right? So first up, it's about identifying your transferable skills and really building your foundational knowledge in data analytics. So understanding the different things, the different dimensions of perspectives that you bring. Remember my example earlier when I said I come from a personal branding, PR background. So that was my transferable skill that I brought into coaching. And when you look at Emma as well, coming from a leadership background, she was able to bring that now into running her own business, data analytics business, understanding how to engage with people, having excellent communication skills, et cetera, from being an experienced leader. And it's also about gaining practical experience through projects and portfolios. So that's a huge aspect of the program that we offer. So you're not just learning theory, but you're getting real life projects that you can apply the skills to. And it's also about leveraging the career coaching and the network as well for job placement. And networking is something that we cover quite extensively in the career coaching because let's face it, things have really, really changed. They've significantly changed when it comes to looking for a job. If you think about how we looked for a job 10, 15 years ago, I'm revealing my age now. It was all about buy the latest newspaper, flip through, go to the specific spot in the paper, do your little cutting, and off you send your fax or your email to the person's details that were listed there. But now it's about networking. It's about being your own billboard and telling the world what you do, one person at a time, or one group at a time, or one platform at a time when it comes to spaces like LinkedIn. So we have to be comfortable with talking to people about what it is that we do, but we'll get more into that in the career coaching part. So Emma, another question for you. What role would you say practical projects played in preparing you for the new industry?
Yeah, so I guess for me with my background, it was really a chance to use and build the code and things that had worked. So the more technical aspects of the course. With my engineering background, the structure of solving a problem was less relevant for me. And that's not to say that that will be the same for anyone else embarking on the course. That's just specific to me. But the practicals are a much freer way of using the code than the course content that you're using to kind of work through and learn the coding. So you get a chance to really play around a bit with it, build some confidence in what you're doing, and it builds on the course confidence. So you're never kind of like, you're not left there to flounder around with it. It's like, oh, okay, I can do that in SQL or Python now. Or even if you're like, I don't know, but I'm going to give it a try. And it's one of the things I really love about working with data, right? There are so many tools, it's vast, it's ever changing. There's always more data and ways that you can get that data telemetry, and no one will know it all. So I've still taken that, I'm not sure yet, but I'll find out with me even now into my job from the course. So yeah, it was more transitioning that problem solving, but then applying new technical tools that were very new to me to an actual project.
So it was really about, what I'm hearing is it was really about being open to the process, being open.
Yeah,
to
definitely.
And really internalizing and applying everything that you were picking up along the way. And just an add-on question to that. What was it like working with people from different geographies? Because one thing about Fourth Rev is that people come from all over the world to participate. So what was that piece like for you?
Yeah, oh, it was brilliant. And I think one of the things that really stuck with me, so when we got to the employer projects, so kind of the big fourth practical that you do to graduate out of the career accelerator, one of my team came from a photography background and very creative background to my very pragmatic engineering background. And it worked out being the perfect mesh because he could just make all of our dashboards and all of our presentations look beautiful and flow, and it just made the message so much clearer. He just had a natural knack for it. And then there was me with some of the more like, okay, logical, let's just do this boring bit of the analysis going through it. So, it's the age-old thing, right? If you've got two people that think exactly the same, one of them's redundant. Yeah, it's great. And like you can bounce ideas off of each other. You learn together with your cohort. That's the other thing. Like we all had a WhatsApp chat, still going. It's you start building that network as well, right? So
wonderful, wonderful. There's that incredible sense of community and also peer learning as well. And it really demonstrates the power of diversity. So it's so rich in that aspect as well, over and above the learning and the practical aspect. Thanks, Emma.
No worries.
So what are employers looking for in career changes? And these are insights that we get on the regular from hiring managers. Because one thing that we're passionate about at 4thRev is that we research each and everything that we put out there. So we don't just thumb stuff. We don't just think, what do I think? What is my perspective? Over and above doing that, we really go out there and we get the data, we get the insights so that we're really giving you real life scenarios of what is happening in the live environment. So the first one there is curiosity and problem solving mindset. So if you're naturally gifted like this, you already have a massive advantage over other people that are in the same space, vying for the same roles as you. And it's also about having evidence of practical experience. And as Emma beautifully articulated, you get that in the form of a portfolio. And that forms a key component in the career coaching. So you're not just left to yourself to create this portfolio. We actually hold your hand through it. And we have a rubric as well that we use to go through each of the pointers. Because one thing that we're passionate about in the career coaching when it comes to your portfolio is really showcasing your personality. And I loved what you said, Emma, around the photographer who was creative and who brought this thing to life when you were presenting it. So it's the same thing with portfolios as well, your individual portfolio, to be able to showcase that this is who I am, this is what makes me different. And it's also about being able to explain the business impact of using data, like what is the business case? Why should organizations be able to have robust data at its disposal? And looking at these insights that we got from hiring managers, something that might be concern to you, that might be of concern to you, is having the fear of being employable. Like you're thinking maybe to yourself that I'll be starting from zero, it's going to be so difficult, etc., etc. It really is about understanding your broader skill set and having domain knowledge. So using Emma as our example, she explained how she came from a technical engineering background. And that's a great, great attribute to bring into the space of data when it comes to having that domain knowledge. And it's also about understanding that you have soft skills. Another term I love to use for that is human skills. And I wrote an article today about how being human is the new sexy. And I say that because in the age of AI and automation, it's very easy for all of us to just come across as homogenous, right? So you leaning into who you are and what soft skills or human skills you bring to the table is again a powerful differentiator. And just as a side note on soft skills, so one of the things that we speak to hiring managers about is CV, like what does a great CV look like? And something that came back from that research we did was that people are sounding more and more the same. People are using the same keywords. I'm a strategic thinker, I'm a hard worker with over 5 years of experience in this. It just sounds like something that somebody just got from ChatGPT. They cut and they paste and off you go. So what hiring managers are really looking for is for you to be able to articulate yourself authentically. Because if you think about it, when you go for job interviews, over and above your technical skills, the panel wants to like you, right? They want to connect with you on some level. And if you're just spewing out technical words like, I'm an analytical thinker, I work really well with people, you're just going to sound like everyone else. So you have to be able to showcase that, you know what, I love listening to different perspectives. That's showcasing your soft skills. It's also about being able to say things like, I'm the quiet one. I like to watch everyone and then mirror back to people what it is that I'm seeing. That's another soft skill. So really get into the habit of owning soft skills or human skills in a way that feels authentic to you. Just really want to emphasize that. Another objection that might be there is that I don't have the right skills. Like, I'm just starting in this. How am I going to learn everything that I need to learn? This program is called an accelerator, right? So you're not learning like this. It's not a gradual climb. You literally go whoop, and brrr, it's a steep climb of learning. So trust me, by the end of the program, you will have the skills that you need to be able to go out there and call yourself a data analyst. And one of the things we work on as part of career coaching is your LinkedIn profile. And whenever I ask my coachees to update their profile based on what they've learned so far, it's always interesting how they say, I'm an aspiring data analyst. Even at the end of the program, when I say to them, no, but you must say, I am a data analyst, even though you don't have a role yet. You need to get into the habit of understanding that as you are right now, you are a data analyst. So that's just something to reflect on as well. But by the end of the program, you'll be able to call yourself a full-fledged data analyst. So let's briefly chat about the comprehensive career support that you're going to get as a part of this program. And I've mentioned career coaching here. Well, not mentioned, I've actually sat on it quite a lot. Excuse me, I'm a career coach, but it really forms a huge component in terms of enabling you for success. So as Josh mentioned earlier, you do get one-on-one career coaching. You get a dedicated career coach that's available to you. And the wonderful thing about that is that it really curates a very personalized experience for you, where you're able to unpack the things that get in the way of you advancing your career. And I say that because at times we're so focused on fixing the thing, fixing the LinkedIn profile, fixing the CV, fixing the interview skills. But all of those things don't come out of a vacuum, right? They come out of a mindset. So a lot of what we do in career coaching is focusing on helping you have a mindset that serves you, that enables you, that doesn't get caught up in a downward spiral about how difficult the job market is, et cetera, et cetera. Now, having said that, it doesn't mean that we're oblivious to how challenging things are. We're not sugarcoating it, but we're really getting you into a space that will help you bring about the change that you want to see. So being aware that it is difficult, but at the same time, owning that you have what it takes to find the kind of role that you're looking for. And in addition to the coaching, we also have group sessions as well, where we have sprint sessions. That's the term I was looking for. So we have sprint sessions that happen on a weekly basis. This is towards the end of the program. So you get onto a sprint session on a weekly basis, and it's all about taking consistent action that will help you land a role. So that will be things like committing to attend 5 networking events in a month, or committing to make 5 connections on LinkedIn a day. So it's all about bringing results as a result of whatever action that you're going to take. And we also help you with mock interviews, because we're mindful that some of you may have not been for an interview for 10 years, 15 years, who knows? And the way interviews get done these days, it's so, so different to what it used to be. So I see there's hearts and laughter. Yeah, I see you. You haven't been for an interview for 10 years. So we don't just throw you into the deep end and you're like, oh my gosh, what is happening here? We talk you through the various types of interviews that are out there. We do an actual mock interview with you, and we give you feedback on how you come across. So we really do hold your hand throughout this entire process. So an objection that you might have is, will I be able to find a job after this? We do our utmost best to help you find a role that's suitable for you. And it's really based on the amount of work that you put in, definitely, when it comes to networking and building your personal brand. And a lot of your chances of getting a role are also increased by you really leaning into talking about yourself, as I mentioned earlier, about being your own billboard, because we can give you all of the tools, all of the resources. We can make your LinkedIn profile amazing, give you an amazing CV. But when you're seated in front of that potential employer, it all comes down to you. So we really want you to step into those spaces confidently and do what you need to get the role that you're looking for. And when it comes to looking for a role, something that we do as well within the career coaching is that we talk about your career drivers, your growth areas, things that set your heart on fire, etc., so that we then recommend you to go for industries that are more inspiring to you, industries that you're more passionate about. That's how we approach career coaching. So it's not just shooting in the dark, spray and pray, I get any role in any industry. We really want to target it to spaces that really inspire you to want to be there. So another question for you, Emma. I've spoken quite a bit. Let me take a sip of water. That was a mouthful. So another question for you. Can you share a bit of insight into your career coaching experience on the program, and were there any particular focus points for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think, Mo, that you were just talking about me there, because I was definitely one of those people that hadn't done an interview for like well over 10 years. And I don't think LinkedIn was probably really a thing when I did my last kind of round of job hunting. And the other bit you were talking about that really resonated me was like the transition mindset. I definitely just had one career coach session that was basically just me having a good old vent about how frustrating it was trying to find a job and how difficult it was to career transition and have all of this, 15 years experience, but not in data, and then doing a little data transition. And everyone's like, oh, we need 5 to 10 years in data. So yeah, my career coach was fantastic and just gave me massive pep talk, helped me out with everything, it like so supportive. And I think there's those kind of things. So there was the massive pep talk that stood out for me. Another big focus was just nudging me to sort my LinkedIn out. I don't really like social media. I don't really like LinkedIn. It's a necessary evil for me. But getting it sorted out was absolutely critical. It's kind of like a passive job advert, right? To any recruiters that are looking for one of us outliers that's career transitioning and has all this previous experience and then wants to move into data. So getting that done was just, major breakthrough. But then, there were countless CV reviews, job description reviews on how to tailor my CV for certain jobs. Again, because we were trying to focus on things that I wanted to move into, so more into data for good. Interview prep, elevator pitch prep. And if you're like me, I found doing the practice runs with my career coach way worse than the actual interviews. Like that was way more cringeworthy for me because I knew my career coach and I was like, oh God, this is just kind of embarrassing for me. She pointed me to countless resources and tools to improve stuff. And like all of the career coaches are just so knowledgeable about, well, careers and getting roles, right? They know what they're doing. And then there were other things that were just so minor, so minor, but landed me a job. So my career coach would work asynchronously with me. So she'd quite often record me a video where she'd been reviewing my CV and talk through her thoughts versus writing them down, which worked really well for me. I shamelessly stole that idea for one of my job interviews. I was being asked via email how I would go about solving a very specific problem for a client. So I just made a short video kind of walking them through what I would do, and like I could write on a whiteboard and show them what I was doing. And that was way easier for me. and they loved it. So, you know, it's this continuous learning kind of mindset. I got so much out of it, whether it was the course technical content or the career coach help, or even your success manager is like your individual cheerleader, kind of helping you through and stay on track. So yeah, no, really, really useful resources.
Love that. Love that. And I love the bit around LinkedIn as a necessary evil.
Yes.
And the invitation there to everyone is to reframe. For those of you that maybe don't have a LinkedIn profile, feel social media is evil for whatever reason, I completely respect that. And the way I reframe it is to see LinkedIn as a tool. It helps you achieve something, which is get a job. And when you think of a tool in a practical sense, you don't have to love the hammer, right? You don't have to love the oven or the stove. It's just something that you use to achieve something. And it's the same thing with LinkedIn. So understand how it works, make it work, and let it do what it needs to do for you. So you don't have to necessarily be in love with LinkedIn, but just use it to get what you want to get out of it. So thanks for that, Emma. I'm going to hand back now to Josh.
Thank you, Maya. So yeah, I touched on briefly, very briefly at the beginning of the presentation around the 4 projects that you'll complete and that they will make up a part of your digital portfolio of evidence. And that's one of the major outcomes of the program, but it really addresses how the Career Accelerator delivers hands-on learning with industry relevance. And really all of the ways that we're looking to support you are kind of like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. And so when we speak about, for example, like the certificate from the LSE and the reputation of studying at the LSE, well, that can be a catalyst to get your foot in the door for an interview. But then once you're in the interview, how do you actually showcase, storytell, visualize the skills, the projects, the experiences you have, and importantly, how do you differentiate yourself? And often speak to candidates again when we think about, let's say, a master's, and it's not a one size fits all. There's a lot of instances where masters are incredibly valuable, and part of what's great about a master's is obviously the certificate that you'll receive, right? But again, that can be a good contributor to getting your foot in the door. But how can you actually showcase what you know? You know, if you've just got a grade sheet, it becomes increasingly more difficult if you don't have real world experience, which a lot of our candidates don't. And so a part of this is through the portfolios, allowing you to demonstrate that. On the flip side, you know, I speak to a lot of candidates because it is a significant investment that say, well, why don't I just do a short course? There's some Coursera courses or Google courses I can do. You certainly can. There's also thousands upon thousands of people that are doing those courses. And again, once you're in an interview, how do you differentiate yourself? It's increasingly more challenging. And so that's the real benefit of the portfolio and the project-based learning. And really, when we look at these quotes from Arthur and John, it speaks for itself. So Arthur states, you're going to have at least 4 projects that you can speak about to future employers, and you would have done a sort of mock presentation. You're going to be very confident and have a lot to deliver afterwards. And with John, I could show from my portfolio and say, this is what I've been through. It's so relevant and applicable to all industries. John's a really great example of a career change. So from Australian ski instructor to data analyst, the importance of the portfolio is really crucial. In a webinar I hosted a few months ago now with Tim. Tim, similarly to you, Emma, he's, as an outcome, started his own business. And one of the things he spoke about was that once he's launched his business, he needs to actually get some clients. And in a presentation to a really large airline, he actually used some of the projects in the Career Accelerator and use that as a way of reputation to back up the skills that he has that ultimately allowed him to land the business from this airline. which was incredibly insightful there. So over to then you, Emma, and a question for you. So being able to showcase and speak about your skills is really important, as we've highlighted, especially for those new to the industry. What did you find most valuable for your circumstances regarding the practical and project experience in the program?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna fess up here that I started on my actual like online portfolio, and it got paused because I then landed my job that I've been doing. But I am just in the process now of setting up my company website, and it's incredibly likely that I'm going to do what Tim did and use some of the material on there to kind of showcase what I can do. But that's not to say what we did in the practicals wasn't useful, because, oh my gosh, it's so useful. And I think there's two big things. I think firstly, and probably especially the employer project, but not limited to it, is that you get an opportunity to talk with your cohort and your team and share ideas and collaborate with your course mates. So that's all good and well in itself, but it's also, you learn other ways of solving the same problem in data. And this is still true now while I'm working in data. There's loads of different ways of solving every problem that comes across. And it's about working out what's going to be the best way, the most efficient, what relates to the business case best, what gives you scalability in the future, how do you future-proof it? But it also means you start speaking in data language to someone and getting comfortable with that kind of fluency of what you've learned. So then when you come into an interview, you're that much more comfortable and confident talking about what you have done and what you have learned. And linked to that, the second big thing, and I guess I touched on this a little bit talking about the job interview that I did via a little video. It wasn't so much me sitting down and physically going through my portfolio or someone looking at my portfolio, but being able to verbally talk through exactly what the course assignments had been really clearly, how I went about them, what tools I'd used, what coding languages I'd used, the alternatives I'd considered. And that was so much easier because all of the practicals were really fresh in my mind and we'd done them. So yeah, and they're as close as you can get to kind of a real life example without being in a job, with everything that entails, proprietary data and things you can't share. Like most of the stuff I work on now, I can't put in my portfolio. So yeah.
Great, thank you. Moving on. And we've got basically 10 minutes remaining. So there's a few questions in the Q&A, which is great. Still opportunities. If you do have any questions for Emma, Maya, or myself, please post them now. But we're actually going to do a poll. So a poll's going to pop up on your screen in a moment. And would love you to answer these, and then we'll kind of look at the results. So what would be your biggest concern about joining the Data Analytics Career Accelerator? Is it time commitment, financial cost, lack of technical experience, or uncertain career transition success? Give you a few moments to complete that. And so whilst we wait for these results to appear, the lack of technical experience is a really interesting one. And I'd like to start with that. So there's two components to this. And here are the results. Actually what's come up with 45% was uncertain career transition success. So thankfully we've got Maya on here to have a bit of a chat about that, and she's done a really good job. But again, any additional questions that you'd like to discuss about that, please put in the Q&A. Secondary to that is financial cost at 30% of the responses. So that's also twofold. There's viable payment options, which we have. We have flexible payment options for this program. which range from an upfront payment, obviously, and if you can afford that, there's a £700 fee reduction. Alternatively, there's interest and fee-free 6, 9, or 24-month payment plan options for you as well. So a lot of flexibility for you to be able to manage cash flow and that sort of thing when it comes to payment for the program. But I think also importantly, a lot of people view financial cost in the context of value, and what is it, hesitancy about what is that going to provide. And in being a part of a lot of webinars where we have current students or alumni students on, like Emma, who have achieved their goals, one of the core differences, right, is that these individuals they took that first step. They took that risk. They took action with due diligence, did their research, knew this is what they wanted to do, but then they took that step and they didn't delay. And so if you are sitting there kind of nervous about the financial commitment in terms of the return, also understand that, and think about, if nothing changed in the next say 6 to 12 months for you, how would that feel? And of course, you've inquired about this program for a reason. So have you tried to solve this challenge, say if it is a career transition, in another way before, and how has that gone for you? So really important that once you make the call of what you think's the right fit, you got to take that step. That's the most important thing. And yeah, there's the brochure in the chat. Importantly, really useful to book an exploratory conversation with your enrollment advisor. We're here to really understand your unique circumstances and what you want to achieve, and we'll be completely open and honest about if we can support you with that or not. Otherwise, a couple of other questions here, and Emma, might get you involved. So when we talk about what if I struggle with the technical content, just in your experience, and I will come back to us shortly just around entry criteria, but what do you think would be like the minimum recommendation in your experience that someone would need to be able to do the program?
I think just an interest in data, really, because the first course just starts super easy. Like you're in Excel, it's very nice and familiar, and you kind of go from there, and you have so many options for how you build on that. You've got certainly we had so many facilitators that were on hand to answer questions. You have, I don't know what like posting tool you're using now, but we had Yellowdig back in the day, and you could post questions to your cohort. So you had peer-to-peer help. You could reach out to the instructors and facilitators. You had scheduled meetings with them where they'd go through worked examples and explain things and answer any questions you had. You could schedule one-to-ones with them. Like there's so much help available if you get stuck. And there's so much stuff just on Google, YouTube, ChatGPT, that the learning tools of, a modern world are all there. And then you've got the structure of the course backing you up to work your way through it. I don't really think you need much of a background. And like one of the useful things I did, because my background was very much from Excel, I would relate everything back to Excel. So I'd be doing something, certainly at first in SQL or Python, I'd be like, okay, well, this is how I would want to do it in Excel. How do I translate that into SQL world or Python world, or what am I doing? And that certainly helped. So, yeah.
Yeah, I always like to say to your point in terms of you highlighting the support, as a part of your process, you speak to an enrollment advisor. You're either going to be eligible or you're not. There's 3 pathways, either through previous educational experience, if you've done a quantitative unit of study in any of your previous studies. Otherwise, if you've got 3 years of experience in anything data related, that's not as a data analyst. To your point, Emma, it can be use Excel. We always recommend some exposure to pivot tables is a good kind of baseline. But if you've been in any role where there is data or numbers as a part of it, that's useful. Otherwise, there's an aptitude test. If you don't meet that criteria, it's 30 multiple choice questions over 30 minutes. If you get 50% or above, you're deemed eligible. There's multiple pathways to make it accessible, but what's important, and we fully understand the doubts and the concerns that you can have doing something like this, where there's a lot of technical learning. but it's rather about, can you dedicate the time you need to give yourself the best opportunity to complete, rather than, is it actually unachievable for me? With the support and dedicating the right amount of time, you should give yourself the best opportunity to complete. That'll do me. I think we're timing well here. A few more minutes remaining. There's 2 questions in the Q&A. I'll hand back over to Maya.
Yeah, I'm thinking, Josh, because we're scheduled to finish in 4 minutes, I'm thinking we could perhaps go into the next step and then come back to the question after, so that we complete the presentation. Is that fine with you?
Happily, yep. And I'll partially answer one of the questions here. I think there was a question around the intake. So there's 4 intakes per year for the Career Accelerator, every, say, 3 months. Our next one is the 21st of April. There are still limited placements remaining. The application process, once you speak to your enrollment advisor, that's the recommended first step. We can then give you an indication of the application process and get you through that pretty quickly. Alternatively, there will be intakes in July and October as well. So really, to be frank, book a time with an EA. We can then personalize and tailor any further collateral information that you need and support you based on the potential timeline you're looking at.
Okay, awesome. And I think you mentioned earlier around the payment options as well.
Yep. Yeah, spoke about that before, and we'll give you full detail in a conversation, obviously both verbally and via email as well. But you can see there's a range of flexible payment options to make this accessible.
All right, awesome. So let's go over to the questions. Let's have a look here. How often, oh, you've answered that one. The next one is, I'm a middle-aged career changer. I'm very useful, body and mind, very active, sharp mind, but age-wise, I'm no longer young. How much will my age hold me back when I apply for a job as a data analyst? That's such a great question, Gardenia, and it's quite a universal one as well. Where people feel if they're over 30, they're over 40, 50, whatever, then it reduces their chances. So I wouldn't focus too much on your age, because as I mentioned earlier, it really is about hyping up your transferable skills and also showcasing what perspective you bring into the room. Because in as much as some employers may prefer to recruit younger people, it doesn't necessarily mean that all recruiters are like that, all companies are like that, because there's this rich experience and dynamism of industry knowledge that we carry with us throughout our career. So I wouldn't focus on it too much. And especially because you say you look young anyway, so maybe you're the one who only experiences yourself as a bit older, looking at whatever your birth certificate, your ID says, etc. But it really is about embodying your strengths and walking in with that confidence and not spotlighting to yourself that, oh my gosh, I'm old, but rather thinking, I've got this. I've got what it takes. I've got the qualification. I have the confidence. I have the dynamism, the perspective, and the energy that I want to bring into this role. So I wouldn't let that get in the way of you making the switch. Hamad is asking, if I don't have Excel experience, can I still enroll on the program, or should I learn Excel first? Definitely. Oh, Josh, go for it.
Sorry. I was looking at the screen, and I apologize on interrupting.
No problem, go for it.
Yeah, it's usually specifically pivot tables. You can jump online really quickly and get some exposure to that as a starting point. But yeah, that would be the recommendation, but also useful to actually understand what your professional and educational background is as well. Ahmad, sorry about that, Maya. You continue.
No, you've answered it. No additions to that. That's fine. And another, well, it wasn't a question, but it was more around the results that came through where people were saying they're concerned about career success, successfully making the switch in their careers. That was the main challenge they had. So just to speak to that, it's very good and well for us as human beings to have this sense of control, this sense of comfort and knowing what it is the outcome will be with anything in life, right? But if you think of it on a broader level, at various points in your life, you make decisions where you have no idea, you have no 100% guarantee that this thing is going to work out. But what you go in there with is your determination. You go in there with your resilience. You go in there with your hope and your commitment to the process. You go in there with the mindset of, I can do this, I will do this. And the wonderful thing about the program is that it enables you for success. So it's not just you having to work through this program on your own, but as we've mentioned, you have your career coach who's going to be your biggest cheerleader, your biggest supporter, and you have your success manager as well, who's there rooting for you as well. So it really does center on you and how much you're willing to put into this. Because one thing I know about life from my various experiences is that you only get out of life what you put into it. So when you're sure that you're going to put in what it takes to make this a success, I'm 99.9% sure that you will make a success of it. It's just about opening up to the journey and trusting the unfolding of the journey as well. Just wanted to add that bit. Do we have any other questions? See, there's no more questions in the chat. All right, so I trust you enjoyed the session. And before we sign out, I don't know, Emma, Josh, if you have any closing thoughts. Are you good? All right.
No, thanks for having me.
So much. Thanks for being amazing panelists. And I have my amazing Australian accent ready to go.
The moment we've all been waiting for.
Good eye, Mike.
Perfect.
Drum roll. Thank you.
I'm not going to top that.
All right. Thanks so much, everyone. It's been amazing being a part of your afternoon and wishing you all the best. Take care then. Bye.